Welcome back to Africa 54. Africa is said to be experiencing a literary renaissance. Okey Ndibe, a Nigerian novelist, political columnist, and essayist, is among the writers that is capturing the imagination of readers across the continent. His latest novel is Foreign Guards, Inc. Ndibe recently visited our studios, and in part one of my interview with him, he discussed what motivated him to write his latest book.
I wanted a specific angle, something fresh. And so I looked for a narrative that will give us a story of an immigrant who happens to be an African who's gone to school in this country but is unable to get a job on account of his accent, which places him as foreign. And so he goes through some of the torment that people go through in any society. He reads a magazine article talking about this gallery in New York City called Foreign Guards, Inc. That buys and sells sacred objects from around the world, and as well as deities. And so he falls to the temptation to carry out the ultimate gamble of his life by returning to his home community to steal what used to be the god of war for his people, to sell it to the gallery, of course expecting to make a ton of money.
And usually that does not belong to the individual. It possibly belongs to the community.
They belong to the community. This used to be the deity that sort of guaranteed invincibility to the warriors of his community in years and years past, before the colonial era. And so you can imagine the sort of the quality of this act of treachery on his part. And also there's a particular filial dimension to his decision to steal the deity, because his uncle, his father's brother, happens to be the chief priest of the deity that he goes to steal.
That really whets our appetites right there. Yes. And it kind of makes you think of the kind of themes the late Chinua Achebe would be exploring. And I know you have a very intimate connection to Chinua Achebe.
Chinua Achebe was actually the person who brought me to this country. In 1988, he had invited me to come to America and be the founding editor of a magazine called African Commentary, which he published. And so he had everything to do with my relocation from Nigeria to America. And he and I worked closely over the years, including over the last 3 years of his life, when he and I were together at Brown University, and I was part of the Achebe Colloquium on Africa that he ran for 3 years.
In fact, in connection with the theme here, I noticed there was an essay you wrote also about in America doing Dutch.
It's a book that I'm working on now, again, where I tell the story of the first time that an American invited me to a restaurant. And back in Nigeria, if somebody invites you to go and eat, the person implies an offer to buy the meal for you. So it happened to be a woman, an American woman, who was inviting me. Of course, in Nigeria, women, as a rule, would never buy lunch or dinner or any meal for a man. But I told myself, this is an American woman, so maybe they are liberated, you see. And well, we went to eat. I didn't have any money. As you can imagine, I found out the very traumatizing way that there's something called going Dutch in America. So that's the title. And then I also tell the stories about being arrested for bank robbery and other things that wonderful as well as frightening that happened to me in America.
4 days after arriving in this country, 10 days later you were arrested for robbery. I hope you didn't get jailed, did you?
No, not at all. The police officer picked me up. I asked for my identification. I told him I didn't have any. So he took me, drove me to my apartment, and I showed him my passport. And somehow he was punching a few things on a small machine that he had, and that sufficed to show that I wasn't the man they were looking for.
Well, that was Okey Ndibe, a Nigerian author, speaking to us about his new book, Foreign Guards, Inc.